Let's return to Hollywood and our top story this morning, where legendary actress Diane Keaton has died at the age of 79, sending shockwaves through the industry and among fans.
You said you can't imagine what I think of you.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to answer that.
The soft hum of jazz drifted through the night air, spilling out from the open windows of a Beverly Hills villa. Inside, laughter shimmered like the reflection of crystal glasses against chandeliers. It was Jack Nicholson's annual birthday celebration, an extravagant affair where Hollywood's brightest gathered to bask in its own legend. And that night, one woman stole every gaze, Diane Keaton. Graceful, eccentric, and magnetic as ever, she walked through the crowd with quiet confidence. Even Jack, ever the showman, fell silent when she arrived. For a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. They shared a private conversation on the rooftop, two old friends, two giants of the silver screen, framed by the city's golden glow. No one knew what they said, only that they lingered there long after the laughter faded below. But within days, the world would wake to the shocking news that Diane Keaton, beloved actress, muse, and legend, was gone. 79 years old, found lifeless in her Los Angeles home. And in a twist that sent shockwaves through Hollywood, the name Jack Nicholson appeared in the police report. A shattered wine glass, signs of a struggle, and scraps of paper marked with a single letter, J. If you love stories like this, ones that peer behind the curtain of Hollywood's golden glow to find the truth hidden in the shadows, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more tales of the stars who burned too bright. Because tonight's story is one that asks, what really happened between Jack and Diane? Their story began not in a scandal, but on a film set. It was 1978, the set of Reds, and the atmosphere buzzed with ambition and creative chaos. Diane Keaton, fresh from the triumph of Annie Hall, arrived late one afternoon, hair slightly disheveled, script tucked under her arm, eyes alive with nerves and purpose. In a corner sat Jack Nicholson, already a Hollywood titan. Sunglasses on indoors, he watched her like an artist sizing up his next muse. "You're the one keeping Warren Beatty up all night?" he teased. Diane smirked. "Then you better keep your distance." The room burst into laughter, but Jack didn't laugh. He lifted his shades, looked her straight in the eyes, and said, softly, "I've never been afraid of women." Something shifted in that moment. Not love, not yet, but a spark of understanding, an unspoken recognition between two restless souls who lived and breathed cinema. What began as playful banter grew into a strange, magnetic friendship. Over the years, they drift in and out of each other's orbits, appearing together at art galleries, premieres, dinners. Diane called Jack the most charming troublemaker I know. Jack once joked, "She's the woman who keeps me awake at night." By 2003, fate decided to give their connection a script of its own. Something's Gotta Give. A romantic comedy, yes, but on that set, something very real flickered behind the fiction. During the first table read, every line between them felt charged with history. Even after the director called cut, one crew member recalled, Jack couldn't stop looking at her. And Diane? She smiled like she was pretending not to notice. Reporters speculated endlessly. Were they just acting, or was the screen romance echoing a deeper truth? Every glance, every pause, every shared laugh seemed to carry years of untold stories. After each scene, Diane would step onto the balcony for air. Moments later, Jack would follow. One magazine claimed he called her every night just to say goodnight. To Diane, he was the man who made me feel I could finally be myself. To Jack, she was the only woman who understood my silence. For years, that delicate balance held, friendship teetering on something deeper, but never tipping over the edge. Until one October evening when everything changed. Jack's birthday party that year was the talk of the town. Stars gathered beneath strings of gold lights. the scent of champagne mingling with the laughter of legends. And then Diane arrived, still numinous, still the one presence that could still Jack's restless energy. They retreated once again to the rooftop terrace, talking quietly for nearly half an hour. No one heard what was said, but later that week, Diane was gone. News spread like wildfire. Within hours, the city was gripped by a single headline: Jack Nicholson questioned after Diane Keaton's sudden death. Outside his home, reporters swarmed. Flashbulbs burst like lightning, each question sharper than the last. The LAPD released a brief statement. There was no evidence of foul play. But then came the line that set everything ablaze. We are still clarifying the events leading up to Miss Keaton's death. Hollywood, ever hungry for drama, erupted. Theories multiplied. Grief twisted into suspicion, and once again, Jack Nicholson found himself under the harshest spotlight of all, real life. When Jack arrived at the West LA police station, he came alone. No entourage, no lawyers. Just a dark suit, trembling hands, and the face of a man carrying decades of ghosts. He sat before detectives, removing his glasses slowly. It was just a party, he said. Friends, wine, some old songs. She left before midnight. But inconsistencies soon surfaced. There were no security camera recordings from the rooftop. The system had been malfunctioning. Conveniently. Then came the autopsy report. No visible trauma, but traces of sedatives in Diane's blood. The question loomed: did she take them before the party or after leaving Jack's home? A witness soon came forward claiming they'd seen Jack pour Diane a glass of red wine that night. Minutes later, that same glass was found shattered, quietly cleaned up before the police arrived. Tests were ordered, every bottle, every fingerprint examined. Then came another revelation. A server overheard an argument between them, Diane's voice rising, Jack pleading softly, "You don't understand me, Diane." A chair scraped, then silence. When confronted, Jack didn't deny it. He exhaled, voice cracking, "I was trying to help her, to get away from Al Pacino." He said Diane had confided in him. Letters, late-night calls, an unease she couldn't shake. He told her to cut ties, to leave town for a while. She'd lashed out. Furious. Called him overbearing. Said she didn't need saving. Then she left, and he never saw her alive again. Jack's words opened a door no one expected. The mention of Al Pacino, another Hollywood giant, another piece of Diane's past, turned the case into a storm. The investigation shifted. Forensic teams combed through every inch of Jack's villa, and reporters dug through decades of interviews and photos searching for cracks in the story. Then a discovery made everything darker. A note found in Diane Keaton's private diary. It read only, "Don't make me despise you, Jack." It was a chilling echo of a story Jack once told in a 2003 interview about how Diane would sometimes look at him, laugh, and say, "You're disgusting." Back then, the public took it as a joke, but now those words felt like a ghost whispering from the past. Investigators uncovered more. Letters from Jack, seized from Diane's home. They were passionate, messy, and desperate. "Please stop avoiding me. I don't want you facing this alone." Another pleaded, "Don't love Al Pacino anymore. He's trouble." Friends revealed that Diane never opened most of those letters. She loved Jack, but not in the way he hoped. To her, he was a confidant, a mirror to her loneliness, but the intensity of his affection had begun to suffocate her. In one diary entry, she confessed, "No room to breathe. Jay is breaking me. I just want peace." She had started avoiding calls, canceling plans, even turning down meetings. But Jack's persistence never faded. The man who had once been her comfort had now become her quiet torment. During a final search of her Brentwood home, police found a bundle of unsent letters tucked neatly in her desk, all written in shaky handwriting, all signed simply with the letter J. They seemed to be messages to Jack, words of anger, regret, longing, never mailed, perhaps never meant to be. One investigator later said, "The ink was still fresh. These weren't old memories. They were her last words to someone she still cared for." It painted a picture no one wanted to see. Two people bound by affection, haunted by pride, both unable to let go. That night on Jack's rooftop, maybe Diane came to say goodbye. Maybe she came to make peace. Or maybe the years of love, pain, and misunderstanding finally boiled over. Whatever happened, one truth remained. By the time the city woke up, it was too late to ask her. When Jack left the police station days later, the press was waiting like a pack of wolves. Cameras flashed, voices shouted his name, questions stabbed through the air. Were you the last to see her alive? Did you argue that night? What did the police find in your house? Jack said nothing. He tried to walk, but his hand shook. His eyes, once hidden behind those famous dark glasses, were red and hollow. A reporter called out one last question. "Jack, did you love Diane Keaton?" He froze. The air seemed to stop moving. Then, hoarse and broken, he whispered, "Get out of my way." As he pushed through the doors, a single tear slid down his cheek. Not the guilt of a killer, but the grief of a man realizing he'd lost the only person who ever truly understood him. For the first time, the Hollywood rebel who feared nothing collapsed under the weight of his own heart. Diane Keaton's funeral was a quiet affair held at a small old church in Brentwood. No red carpet, no flashing bulbs, just silence and the scent of white hydrangeas, her favorite flowers. Jack arrived alone, late, wearing a black suit and no sunglasses. When he entered, the murmurs stopped. He stood in the back, still as a statue. During the ceremony, he didn't cry, didn't move. His stillness said more than words ever could. When it was his turn to say goodbye, he walked slowly to the coffin, placed a single white rose on top, and leaned close. No one heard what he whispered. Some claimed it was, "Al, you bastard." Others said it was a quiet, trembling apology. He left without looking back, his face pale, his steps uncertain. Behind him, the world's cameras stayed mercifully silent for once. The aftermath was chaos. Social media erupted. Tabloids blared with speculation. Jack Nicholson questioned again. The unopened letters, the shattered glass. Fans split into two camps, those who defended him fiercely, and those who demanded justice. On Twitter, the hashtag Justice for Diane climbed to #1 worldwide. Clips of old interviews resurfaced, moments where Diane's eyes looked cold, or Jack's tone seemed strained. Every gesture was reinterpreted, every glance dissected. Jack's representatives held a short press conference, insisting there was nothing suspicious and that he was cooperating fully. But the public didn't believe it. Even as the LAPD repeated that no foul play had been confirmed, the damage was done. Jack Nicholson, the legend who once commanded every room, vanished from sight. No statements, no interviews. The gates of his Mulholland Drive villa stayed closed. A close friend told reporters quietly, "He's not the same. He said to me, 'She was the best part of my life, and I couldn't keep her.'" 3 weeks after Diane's death, police returned to Jack's villa with a new warrant. The room where the party had been was sealed for further investigation. News networks buzzed. Nicholson's party room closed off, broken photo frame found. Inside the frame was a picture. Jack and Diane, smiling, caught mid-laughter on the set of Something's Gotta Give. The glass was cracked straight down the middle, dividing their faces. A commentator on CNN summed it up perfectly. "This isn't just about two actors. It's about the fragile line between love, guilt, and fame." That line had blurred beyond recognition. As weeks turned into months, the noise faded. The case remained technically open, but no charges were ever filed. What lingered was Jack's silence. He didn't defend himself. He didn't explain. He simply disappeared. Friends who visited his home described a man hollowed out by regret. "He watches their old films," one said. "Reds, Something's Gotta Give, The Witches of Eastwick. He talks to the screen like she's still there. Sometimes he laughs, sometimes he cries, and sometimes he just stares." On his desk sat unfinished scripts gathering dust beside a half-empty glass of red wine, the same drink they once shared on the rooftop. One night, a photographer caught him standing outside, alone, holding that glass, staring into the city lights like a man talking to ghosts. The black-and-white photo became iconic. The caption read simply, "Jack Nicholson, haunted by memory." Hollywood loves its myths, and this one is among its most haunting. When the cameras fade and the champagne runs dry, even the brightest stars face the darkness they've tried to outrun. Fame doesn't erase loneliness, it amplifies it. Behind every smile on the red carpet lies a quiet ache, the cost of being seen by everyone and known by no one. Diane Keaton once told her friend Goldie Hawn, "If anyone could make me laugh and cry at the same time, it was Jack." Now, that line feels like a prophecy fulfilled. Jack, once the wild heart of Hollywood, now lives in the shadow of his own legend, a man who once had everything except peace. Some say he's writing again. Others say he hasn't left the house in months. But those who've seen him swear of one thing. When he looks at the old movie posters lining his walls, there's still a spark in his eyes. A man remembering not the scandal, but the woman who once told him he was disgusting, then laughed and kissed him anyway. Because in the end, Hollywood's brightest stories are never about fame or fortune. They're about the fragile, messy, beautiful humanity behind the glamour, and the love stories that outlive their endings.